Before the current crisis, around 73 commercial vessels passed through the Strait of Hormuz in a typical day. On August 9th, only one commercial vessel passed through the strait. There's another number that shows how dramatically the risk has changed. A month ago, war risk insurance for ships operating in the region was roughly 1 to 3% of the vessel's value. Today, that premium has reached between 7.5 and 10%. And all of this is happening while President Donald Trump says the United States has total control of the Strait of Hormuz. So what does total control actually mean if commercial shipping is almost stopped? Let's look at the facts. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway between Iran and Oman. Before the current crisis, around 20 million barrels of oil and petroleum products passed through it every day. That is roughly 1/5 of global oil trade. The United States has overwhelming military superiority in the region. American forces can operate around the strait, attack Iranian military targets, and, if necessary, escort individual commercial vessels. But military control and commercial control are not the same thing. For a shipping company, the question is not simply whether an American warship can protect its tanker. The company also has to consider insurance, the risk of attack, possible detention, delays, and the overall cost of the voyage. And this is where Iran has a different kind of leverage. Tehran does not necessarily need to stop every tanker physically. It only needs to make the route risky enough that commercial operators decide not to use it. That is why the shipping numbers are so important. Washington says it controls the strait. Iran says it controls the strait. But the actual traffic tells us something different. The strait is barely functioning as a normal commercial route. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has said that the U.S. military can maintain its blockade of Iran indefinitely by rotating forces in the region. That demonstrates American military capacity, but does not automatically restore commercial shipping. The insurance market makes that very clear. When war risk insurance rises from roughly 1 to 3% to 7.5 to 10% of a vessel's value, the military risk has become a direct economic cost. Now look at oil. Around 20 million barrels a day used to pass through Hormuz. There are alternative routes, and Gulf producers can redirect some exports through pipelines and other ports. But those alternatives cannot completely replace Hormuz. So the longer the disruption lasts, the more pressure will build on the global energy market. And yet Brent crude is currently around $87 a barrel, nowhere near the extreme levels some might expect from a crisis involving the world's most important oil choke point. Why? Because the market is also taking into account inventories, alternative routes, production, demand, and expectations about how long the disruption will last. So the immediate oil price does not tell the whole story. The more important question is how long the disruption can continue. And this brings us to the real strategic issue. The United States can use military power to open a maritime route. Iran can make that route sufficiently dangerous and expensive that commercial operators choose not to use it. Those are two different forms of power. The United States is clearly stronger militarily, but military superiority alone does not guarantee normal commercial traffic. And that leads to the most important question. What happens after the war? If Washington restores unrestricted navigation through Hormuz, the United States can claim that it has preserved the existing system. But if Iran emerges with some ability to monitor, approve, or restrict shipping, Tehran will have gained a lasting economic and political lever. So perhaps the real question is not who has the stronger navy. It is this: who can determine the conditions under which the world's commercial ships are willing to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And we will know the answer not from another statement by Donald Trump or another statement from Tehran. We will know by watching the ships. If dozens of commercial vessels begin passing through Hormuz every day again, the route has been restored. If shipping remains limited because companies still consider the strait too risky or too expensive, then military control will not have become full commercial control. That is the real test.